we would be able to start creating better humans. The journey of the soul. How are we not taking responsibility for what we could change? Feel elevated, where you can feel peace. Hi, gorgeous. Is there a dream that you're not living? Are there things that you're not saying? Are there clothes that you're not wearing? Are there places you want to go that you're not going? I am here to help you unlock your true self so that you start living by your rules, by your desires, with your game. And that is why I've named this podcast The Spiritual Rebel, because I want people to start digging in and having the courage to step outside of what the conventional society says is how we should be living our lives. Did you know that unless you've done some form of system hacking, you're living a life that isn't of your own choosing? Your choices are being created by what you've been taught spiritually. What you've been taught by the society is the right way to make money, education, all of the important things, sexuality, religion. We're all operating with systems, operating systems that have been forced upon us as children. Because let's face it, as you are born into a family, according to the values of that family is how you are going to be taught. So you become a miniature version of your mother and father, or if you lost your father, then your mother or father, or the other people that are around you, your society, right? So I want to create unity in the world. I think it's time for people to come together spiritually and to start creating a spiritual movement that allows us to truly bond with love, with connection, with what we have in common as opposed to what we don't have in common. The Spiritual Rebel podcast is all about learning how to connect to your divine self, how to live moment by moment, day by day, in your highest frequency of unconditional love for yourself, for the world, and for others. And in order to live in that state, to live, vibrate, let your heart pulse with that level of consciousness, there needs to be a deep willingness to question everything you think you know about you, everything you think you know about what's wrong and what's right. Everything you think you know about money, sex, and everything that is super duper duper important. Yeah. And until we question ourselves, let me tell you what's happening. You're living under the confusion of who you think you should be, who you think is going to get the most love and respect, right? How obsessed was your family about what other people thought, what the neighbors were thinking? Yeah, how much shame would come on the family when you did this or didn't do this, or if you weren't clever at school while other families had very smart kids, or when you misbehaved. It was always about external, how people perceive us in the society, how you perceived in your neighborhood, in other people's eyes. But it was never about how do you feel about yourself? How do you feel about your relationship with your divine self? Because there's not just the self that is your physical body. There's not just yourself that's your name and your occupation and what you do to earn money. There is a self that is vibrational frequency where you can feel elevated, where you can feel peace, where you can feel connecting with other humans on a way that you can't talk to understand it. You need to experience it and become it. All the segregation and separation and anger that we see in the world is because spirituality is no longer on the table. That means that we are creating societies where everybody is on the different side of their belief systems, right? And we're told that we need to tolerate each other and we just need to learn how to get along. What if there's more to spiritual development than just tolerating each other and saying, well, that's your religion, okay. That's your culture, okay. What if there's another level of spiritual evolution that we haven't even started to consider? I'm here on this podcast to challenge all of the people that are curious about why the world doesn't work so well. Why are we still destroying planet Earth? Why are we still having wars that kill and leave people in devastation when we should be better as humans? Yeah. Why do we have kids that are growing up with violence? Yeah. Shooting, killing, bullying. Why do we have depression and raising amongst highly educated people? There's more depression, there's more suicide. Yes, there's breakdowns, mental breakdowns. So many people are fragmenting and falling apart. And if that's not enough, there is burnout and people are losing their jobs, losing their houses because the system is set up not to support, but to make people struggle. So we can look at all the dismal stuff and go, oh my God, it's so terrible. What we're going to do, right? But there is something that we can start doing. We can start to understand. And instead of asking, why is this happening? I want to be the channel that asks, what can we do to change this? What can we do to be contributing that these things that we don't like seeing, that we don't like experiencing, can start to diminish. So it starts with understanding who we are spiritually. It starts with, I call them foundations, spiritual foundations, right? That don't have anything to do with religion. Yeah, for some of you, maybe that's a bomb. For some of you, maybe you've known that for a while and you haven't had a safe space to explore these ideas, right? So that spirituality that is beyond religion, what does that even mean? It means coming into yourself as a first step to find your divine essence. So in my case, I was brought up as Roman Catholic. And when I started working on myself, I came to an insane realization that almost all of what I was thinking, and therefore what I was feeling, and therefore what I was doing, was coming out of fear. The fear that was put into my mind, put into my heart from a young age when I had to start learning how to, for example, confess my sins. As a 8, 9-year-old, I was already going to church and being told to go to the priest and confess my sins. So I would go to confession with 8 years old. So the concept of sin, the concept of feeling bad about your thoughts, feeling bad about your sexuality, feeling bad about fear about the devil, right? So no one wants to discuss the negative effects of some of the things that we say, well, it's our faith, right? Well, I'm here as a spiritual rebel to start the conversation of how do we become better humans, so we can stop all of the BS that we see going on in the world, and instead of just saying, well, that's how life is, to start saying, how are we contributing with our belief systems, with things that we value and say are important, right? How are we not taking responsibility for what we could change in this world? So coming back to my story, I'm 23 years old. I was in my first ever meditation, and I discovered a connection to my divine self. I call it divine self, universe, light, love, a part of me that is whole and not broken. When I connect to that aspect of myself, I feel a stillness, a safety, an incredible amount of expansion and empowerment. I feel clarity. I feel safe. I feel like I'm able to receive information, in the universal consciousness of what is my next step. I feel like I'm guided to be able to create. Yes, to create the things in my life that I love and want to create. So this realization, this connection with my divine self, where all fear, guilt, and concepts of smallness and limitation disappeared. Yes, led me to start understanding that when we're truly spiritually connected to our divine essence, that presence is nameless and formless, has nothing to do with scriptures or what's written in holy books. It has nothing to do with what happened 2,000 years ago or 3,000 years ago. It has to do with our humanity in this present moment. Too many people are stuck in philosophies and ideas that no longer serve us. I don't need to be here to convince you. Just open your eyes and look at the world around you, right? Get excited because there is a solution. And I want to be taking you on a journey, if you allow me, if you feel touched by my words so far, that's going to help to put ideas out into the world that can be spread so we can start getting empowered. Yes? Spirituality is who we are in the core essence. This body is a container for your spirit, your soul. This journey of the soul may be started even before one entered this body. The journey of the soul will end like this any time. When you come into this world, when you're born into this world, into this body, you already have your ticket out of this body, right? And some people will be here in this body for a year, some people for some hours, some for 100 years, some for 50 years. Nobody knows. But what we do know is that there is something that leaves the body when it's your time to leave. So as I sat in deep meditation for many, many hours over a period of 5 years, I started to understand how this aspect of self that I call my soul, that I call my spirit, yes, is actually in everything around me. So there is spirit and soul inside of a stone, inside of the river, inside of sand, inside of the sky, inside of other humans, inside of the things that we create as humans. There is an energetic frequency that permeates, energy permeates every single aspect of what we see here on planet Earth, and quite frankly, beyond planet Earth. The sun, the moon, the thousands of stars, and all of that space out there is a part of you, and you are a part of it. It is a part of your home. You're not just here. I'm not just here in this room looking at you guys at this present moment. I'm also in this building. I'm also in the city. I'm also on planet Earth, and I'm also in this vast universe that goes on and on and on for infinity. As you allow yourself to start questioning, who am I spiritually? Foundational question, before you ask, how can I earn more money? How can I be a better parent? How can I impact the world more positively? How can I figure out what's my true calling and purpose in order to serve others? Before we ask any of those internal questions, the question, who am I truly? What is my essence? Needs to be answered. And we don't only need to answer it as adults. We need to allow kids from a young age to be truly taught to connect with their spiritual self, to understand their spiritual essence in a way where no fearful rhetoric is part of that conversation, right? So if we take my story as an example, the idea that I need to fear that which is the most powerful presence in the universe. I was taught to use the word God. Yes, God, Jesus, right? That is the most powerful force in the universe. But you need to be scared. You need to be God-fearing because you need to stay in line and do what is right. If not, you will be taken by the devil, which is a very ugly beast. And for all eternity, you will burn in hell if you don't follow these rules. Right? And I'm amazed that we're living in 2022, okay? And we aren't questioning, is it still okay that we are teaching and handing over these rhetorics to younger minds? Now, I can just tell you, I've met thousands of people all over the world, right, who have gone through major blocks inside of their own connection to their divine self because of having negative beliefs about the connection to their divine self. It was my story until I overcame it. Yes, I'm no longer afraid of God. I invite God into each breath that I take, into each step that I take. I no longer believe that there's some kind of negative force that if I don't conform to these rules, that I'll be swept away into some darkness. Yes, I believe that we make conscious choices that will either take us into a more beautiful life or take us into more shadow. Yes, and if we can start understanding the negative impact of some of the society belief systems, some of the religious rhetoric, whether that's in Christianity, Buddhism, Judaism, any form of religion, if you look into the facts and not say, oh, it's man that has made this bad. Some of the teachings are toxic. Yes, they are. Yes, and they cause a corrosion of one's experience, spiritual experience, as opposed to an elevation of that experience. And I know that what I'm saying might be upsetting some of you, but I know that there are people here that are going, yes, 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 yes. For those of you that feel upset, if you do, by what I'm saying, I'm just sharing my story. I'm just sharing my story. Yes, my personal story and what I've seen in the thousands of students that I've been working with over 25 years. So I've been in this for 30 years. 5 of those years I worked on myself, and 25 years I've been teaching and helping other people. And it's the same and I've gone all over on planet Earth. And I see the same thing. People don't feel enough. They feel guilty. They feel shame. They beat themselves up in their head. The dialogue in their head isn't supportive, isn't loving, isn't creating a safe space for them. Because with religion, we've created this impossible image of goodness that nobody can live up to. Even the concept that there are people, for example, in Christianity, that we have a priest that is connected to the divine self, that is needed in order to channel God to you. What? No, you have direct access to your divine nature. You have direct access to the most powerful presence in the universe, because it is your birthright, and it's because you were born as that. You come into this world as unconditional love. I've never seen an evil baby, okay? When you take a baby in your arms, it's pure love, it's pure consciousness. It's what we do with that baby's mind. It's what we give as ideas and impulses that is going to cause that baby to form its ideas about who it is and how it operates in the world. It's so easy to judge others. It's so easy to feel like, I'm a good person, while we're full of hate, while we're full of judgment, while we're full of anger and accusation, while we point and feel superior to others. It's time to stop this and understand what it truly means to connect to your spiritual self. So I'm asking you to please continue showing up to this podcast and spreading this message, because it's time, with love and respect, to say, let's cut the BS. Yes, let's start to be honest about our stories. Yes, so those of you that have been brought up with a lot of ideas about what it means to be good, basically brought up with strong religion, which I was. I had to go to church on Sundays. I had to do confession. I was baptized. I had all the ceremonies that go around it. By 18, I was a complete and utter mess, not just because of my religious upbringing, also because of how my family members were operating, even though they followed all of the rituals, went to church, did all the rituals, every day prayed. I was surrounded with people suffering in poverty, people suffering emotionally, people suffering because of sexual abuse, people suffering because of alcoholism. Everything what you can imagine was still rampant and going on. Also, while people tried their best to commit to these ideas. So it is my intention to create an opportunity for an honest conversation where we don't judge. I don't judge. I'm not judging anybody who is following a strict religious way. Not at all. But I'm inviting to say, is there a way that we can elevate our ideas so that from a younger age, people can start being taught more empowering ideas? I believe with all that is good inside of me that if we started creating a spiritual dialogue, spiritual teachings that are different than what we've been taught, than what I've been taught, yes, we would be able to start creating better humans. And the things that the things I talked about, the burnout, the depression, the suicide, all of these negative effects that are becoming more and more every day, we would start to be able to diminish that. Because in the 25 years that I've been working with other humans, I have seen people be able to completely transform their relationship with themselves once they understood that the goodness they're looking for, the beauty they're looking for is who they are. It's not something you have to earn. It's not something that you need to follow a strict amount of rules in order to be worthy of. It's who you came into this world as and who you will leave this world as. It's who you are in your essence. So the Spiritual Rebel podcast is about discovering how to live your true divine essence by being willing to question everything that you've been taught about who you are, and by becoming the example of love, generosity, and beauty that we want to see in the world. And that's not about being perfect. And if you keep on listening and you keep coming back, I will keep bringing you insights, ideas that's going to help start shattering that delusion, that fear, that lostness, so that you can come back to your center and start to feel the peace that is your birthright, the ease within your own skin, and that voice in your head becomes loving, kind, and generous. You deserve the beauty that is inside of you. Come back to love. It is your nature. It's who you are in the core. Come back to expansion and openness. Come back to inner peace. Thank you for listening. And please share in the comments what you think about all of this. And let's keep spreading a powerful conversation of how we can elevate ourselves and get ourselves to a whole other dimension so that this world can be a better place. It starts with the willingness to share your story honestly, not make a fantasy out of it, not think, oh my God, it's, I got to protect my religion, I got to protect my society. No, it's time to tell the truth. Tell your story as it happened. And from that, we will be able to recreate a powerful spirituality that brings us all together, regardless of which religious background we come from. And from that place, oh man, we become unstoppable as humans. Mwah! So much love.